Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a declutter video. I'm taking a break from the other format and doing more of like a sit down and chatty video because I already went through and decluttered these products. The reason is because I've been going through my collection and decluttering drawer by drawer and going through each individual product and sharing whether I want to keep it or declutter it. But as I was looking through my blushes, bronzers, and highlighters, I realized I didn't need to do that because I wasn't really planning on decluttering the majority of them. The reason is because I keep that section of my collection pretty curated and I really didn't purchase that many blushes, bronzers, or highlighters in 2018. So instead of making you sit through one of those where I kept the majority of the products, I thought I would just do like a quick refresh and pull out all of the products that I just don't want to keep, that I haven't used, that I don't think I need, and sit down and let you know why I'm decluttering them in this type of video. I like to do both because I know people like both. I will go back to the old format or the other format when I do my eyeshadow palettes, which I think will be next. In the meantime, I thought I would just update you guys on why these products are leaving my collection and just share my thoughts on them. Okay, so I have some blushes, some highlighters, and then also a couple of lip products. I just decluttered my lip products. Well, it was a few weeks ago, and now that a little more time has gone by, I've just realized I'm not going to use these, so I thought I would declutter them as well. So let me start with highlighters. Actually, let's start with palettes. As I was going through my collection, I realized that I don't really reach for face palettes, whether they are like contour palettes, blush palettes, highlight palettes. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, I don't reach for them. Trios are usually fine, duos are okay, but when it comes to like a full-on palette, it's not something that gets used in my collection. So I've kind of made the unofficial commitment not to purchase any more cheek palettes in 2019, or I guess I should say moving forward. This is such a beautiful palette and it's something that I want to love, but unfortunately I just don't get a lot of use out of it. So I thought somebody else would be able to enjoy it more than I do. Probably my mom or one of my sisters. I'm sure they would love it. It is the Too Faced Natural Face Palette. This is such a beautiful palette. I think the packaging is absolutely gorgeous. Too Faced actually redid the packaging for this as well as a couple of their eyeshadow palettes last year, and I think they did such a good job. They definitely perform well on the face, but for me, I just have other products in my collection that I reach for over these. I find the bronzers to be a little bit too warm toned for me, and even though all of the colors are gorgeous and they perform well, I just don't reach for it as much as I would like to. And because it's just sitting in a drawer in my collection, I'd rather give it to like my mom or one of my sisters so they can actually use it and enjoy it because it is such a beautiful palette. There are two other palettes in my collection that I unfortunately just don't touch. So again, I'd rather pass them along to somebody else who could enjoy them. These are highlight palettes from Face Candy. I think the formula is really, really beautiful. I don't know if they're still available. If they are, I will link them in the description box below. But the first one is the Mermaid Glow Highlight Collection. This comes with a lot of really beautiful cooler toned highlighters, and I think I just kind of realized that I don't prefer colorful highlighters. When I reach for a highlighter, it's usually a pretty neutral color, so I haven't really used this. I haven't reached for it. I do have a couple of highlighters in my collection that are like pink toned, or they might have like a slight blue shift, but in general, I don't reach for like full-on purple or green highlighters. So this just isn't getting used in my collection. The Unicorn Glow palette is the same. It's really, really beautiful. It's gorgeous on the cheeks and it has some really pretty colors in it. But again, I just don't reach for it. I keep telling myself like I'll use them as eyeshadows. I'll get use out of it, but I just don't. I don't need to keep them because I don't use them, and because they're pretty much brand new, I'm sure somebody else would enjoy them. The next palette that I'm getting rid of somewhat reluctantly is from Tarte. This is their Blush Bazaar Amazonian Clay Blush Palette. I remember going back and forth as to whether or not I should purchase this. I think it is like a holiday 2017 palette. This is a really good palette. I think the quality is definitely there. Sometimes with these palettes, you aren't sure if you should purchase them because a lot of times like the holiday palettes aren't the same formula as the single pan blushes, but this one was really great. I think the quality was definitely there and I actually did get a lot of use out of it. But at this point, I'm not really into matte blushes. I more so prefer a glowy blush or even a blush that's a little bit more light diffusing like the Hourglass blushes. So I haven't reached for this in a very long time, like the majority of 2018. And there's no point in me keeping it if I'm only going to use it like once every few months. So I'd rather pass it along to somebody else so they can enjoy it more than I do. Something else that I'm getting rid of reluctantly is the ColourPop Pressed Powder Palette. This one is their Done Deal palette. I've had this for a while. I actually have two of these. I have this one, which is more of like a pink toned duo, and then I also have a peachy toned duo. I'm keeping the like more peach warm one because I definitely think I'll get more use out of it. This is so good. Like the formula is really, really great and I love the highlight shade so much, but I don't wear the blush really at all. As I was going through my collection, I realized that I have other pink highlighters that are very, very similar to this one, including one from Becca, and I find that the formula is similar enough that I don't need to keep this duo just for the highlighter. So I'd rather just declutter it, make some room in my collection because it really hasn't been used in 2018. It is time to let it go. Okay, the last palette that I am decluttering is also a palette that I like. Like apparently these are all products that I like, but I keep telling myself that, but as I look through them, I really didn't get a lot of use out of them in 2018. So even though I think that I love them, there must be other formulas, other products in my collection that I like more. Otherwise, I would have gotten more use out of them because my blush, highlight, and bronzer collection really isn't that large. So it's not even like they're like buried in the back of a drawer. I keep it pretty curated. So anyways, this is the E.L.F. Total Face Palette and it comes with 2 blushes, a bronzer, and a highlight. I think the formula is good and it definitely is one of the better E.L.F. products that I've tried and I do enjoy the formula. The formula is good, the colors are beautiful, but I just haven't reached for it in a very long time, so I don't need to keep it in my collection any longer. I just have a couple of single products. So the first one is the Pretty Vulgar blush in the shade Prim Vixen. Now I do like this blush and it has kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone a little bit because I don't typically wear such bright blushes. I got this in a BoxyCharm box and I think the quality is definitely there. I would be willing to try out additional blushes from the brand, but this is a matte blush. And again, I just don't typically reach for matte blushes. I did keep a couple in my collection just in case, but in general, I prefer more of a glowy blush. And I do have more of a glowy blush that's a very, very similar color. This one is the Too Faced Fruit Cocktail Blush Duo in the shade Pomegranate. And they are very, very similar in tone. So because I can get a very similar look on the cheeks, I'm just going to declutter this one. I also decided to declutter one of my Makeup Revolution Vivid Baked highlighters. I have 2. I have the shade Radiant Lights and the shade Peach Lights. And they look very similar in the pan, but when you swatch them next to each other on your hand, they look different. So I've always been like, no, I need to keep both of them. They're different enough. And I actually sat down in January, wore both of them, and decided that I do prefer one over the other. I prefer the shade Radiant Lights. It just looks really, really beautiful on the skin. And Peach Lights is a little bit more of like a sparkly highlighter, and Radiant Lights almost just melts into the skin. So I'm going to keep the shade Radiant Lights and what am I trying to say? Declutter. I almost said delete and declutter Peach Lights. So as I went back through my lip product collection, I realized there were a couple of formulas that I just don't need to keep in my collection. If you want to check out my other lip product declutters, I will link them in the description box below. I went through every single product one by one and decluttered them. But I am going to also declutter the Bare Minerals liquid lipsticks. I decluttered a few of these and I kept a few of them, but I have other lipstick formulas in my collection that I really love and I reach for all the time. And I was going to give these kind of like a second chance, but at the same time, because I have so many other liquid lipsticks that I just prefer and I haven't touched these, I figured I can just declutter them. My mom likes the formula, so I'd rather give them to her so she could enjoy them. I also decided to declutter the Wet n Wild Color Icon lip glosses. I really like this formula, but I just don't think I'm going to get enough use out of these shades to keep them in my collection. I think if I was going to wear such a light lip gloss, I'd probably choose something more on the nude side or more on the sheer side. Like these are sheer glosses, but they also have a hint of color to them. So I wouldn't wear these on their own. And the way that I wore them the most is that I would wear them over a nude lipstick, but at the same time, I'd rather just reach for like a nude to wear over a nude lipstick. So I just don't think I need these. I'd rather just pass them along because I don't think I'll get enough use out of them. Okay, and finishing up with the Urban Decay Lo-Fi Lip Mousses. I have these in my collection. I did declutter the majority of the shades when they sent them to me in PR because I didn't think I needed to keep everything. I think the formula is good. I remember including these in like a testing new makeup video, but as I've had them in my everyday makeup drawer over the past few months, I haven't reached for them. I think these are good if you just want something very light, if you like more of a lightly stained look, but they don't have the staying power of a stain. They go on and they look like a stain, but they don't stay in place all day long. If I eat or drink throughout the day, they don't hold up that well. I usually just prefer more of like a regular cream lipstick or a liquid lipstick rather than a sheer like lightweight stain. They're very comfortable, they're very beautiful, and in theory they make sense, but I just don't get enough use out of them to keep them in my collection. So those are all of the products that I decided to declutter from my collection for now. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you prefer more of like the other declutter format, don't worry because I will definitely film those videos coming up very soon. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day and I'll see you very soon with a new video. Bye.